today. Yesterday we have discussed about to import a source from a relational database for which Informatica like tools cannot connect directly to a database. If you take the example of Oracle database and it is connected through SQL Plus, so to connect through SQL Plus to the Oracle database, internally it will connect to a tnsnames.ora file, which is created on the client machine, that is the developer's machine, where it will have entry of the information about on which machine on the host that server is being installed. So that is tnsnames.ora file. By default, when you install Oracle client tools, this tnsnames.ora file will be installed. Even if you install Oracle server also, this tnsnames.ora file will be installed along with it. So whenever Oracle client tools, Oracle own products, try to interact with the Oracle server, it uses a tnsnames.ora file. Informatica like tools cannot directly connect to the Oracle database, so they use a ODBC connection, which is each one is different for each database. So when you install Informatica or business object of any client tools like Oracle or Informatica, business objects, Cognos, along with it ODBC drivers are created. Along with that, ODBC drivers are created in the work. So ODBC drivers will connect through the tnsnames.ora file to the Oracle database. So we want to import the table structure from the database through Informatica client tool designer. So we create a ODBC connection. So when we executed the session, we haven't used any ODBC connection because it is inbuilt. When you create the connection based on a database, inbuilt Oracle Informatica will assign the ODBC drivers to that connection. Whereas you are defining the source structure, you have to create a ODBC connection. Through ODBC connection, you will connect to the source database and you import the table structure. You did it for source and you did it for target. For the first two mappings of manufacturers and distributors, for them you have created the connections, executed the mappings. Then we discussed about the file. The data which contains the file which contains data, it is called as a flat file. There are two types of flat files: separator or distributor one type, and the second type is called fixed width files. So the separators can be comma separator, tab delimited separators. Fixed width is the length of each field is fixed in that file. So to define the source as a flat file, you can create it manually, or you can import the file structure only. To import the file structure, the file with sample data should be on the local machine, that is on where the Informatica client tools are installed. On that machine, the file should be there. So Informatica provides you with a three-step wizard to define the file structure. So yesterday we imported Nelson.dat file and we created a mapping till yesterday's class. So today's class we are going to discuss about how to execute a session when your source is a flat file, what is a joiner transformation, how can you join in a source qualifier, and a filter transformation. That is the agenda for today's class. Before I go to today's class, do you have any questions, please? Go ahead, Yasin.
Hey, Vijay, can you, I don't know whether I should ask this question here, but if it is, can you give me a high-level overview how it works in a development environment? So how many sources do you create usually? How many targets do you create? And how many transformations you generally have? I mean, how many mappings?
In a project?
I mean, in a let's say you are you're pulling data from a source, you're putting the target, and meanwhile you're loading the staging table like that. So that's a usual developer's work, right? So how does it happen? How many you create sources, you create targets, you create mappings exactly like this?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be three databases or one source database, or you may have multiple source databases. You have a staging and you have a data mart. That concept
Okay.
of data warehouse. In a data warehouse, how you implement Informatica, that we will take it as a mini case study as part of this training program.
Okay.
That will be the second phase of this. First phase, we will discuss only Informatica as a tool.
Okay.
What it gives, how you work with Informatica tool. That will be till 15 mappings we will do total. Till that, we will only learn Informatica as a tool. After the 15 mappings, we will do a business case study having a source, a staging, and a actual target dimensions and fact tables. And using Informatica, how you extract the data and how you do incremental loading. Using Informatica, how you do SCD1, how you do SCD2, how you load fact table. That will be taken care in that mini case study. There, I will explain you how they load the data also, parallel loading and sequential loading, which one will load first, and all that stuff will be taken care in the mini case study.
Okay. And one more question is one workflow. Is there a scenario where you can have multiple sessions in a workflow?
Yes.
Usually?
Yes. A mapping can contain a session can contain only one mapping. A workflow can contain multiple sessions. That parallel sequential loading and all will be taken care in the mini case study, where you will load first staging data, then dimension loading, then fact loading. So there we will discuss why you do parallel, why you do sequential, what is dependency loading and all that stuff. Okay.
And one more quick question is this Informatica server, where does it reside? Is it a Unix machine or is it a Windows machine?
Any environment, Unix or Linux or Windows.
Okay, so the one Kansas, is it in
Windows.
Okay. So is there a way we can, so in a usual development environment, does the developers go and see the server, or like
if you are an ETL consultant, you will not be allowed to see the server. If you are administrator, only can handle the server.
Okay. So developers are not supposed to see, what are the folders or right? Okay.
They won't give that permission at all. Basically, repository manager client tool will not be given to the ETL developer.
Okay.
Repository manager is the tool which will be allowed to create folders and all that stuff. They will not give it to the developers.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Now coming to our class today. Yesterday we have discussed about extracting the data from a flat file, how to define the flat file structure. Today we are going to discuss about how to extract the data from a flat file. So as per yesterday's mapping, we have defined the source flat file and we want to load the data into the target table. So when your source is a flat file, how it works in Informatica. When your source or target, you can load data into flat file also. First, to define the structure of the flat file, it may be source or target. If one is you can create manually. Second option is you import the file structure, import the flat file structure. For that, the file with the sample data should be on the client machine. When I say client machine, I say developer machine, or you can call it as where the designer software is installed. On that machine, you have to put this file with sample data. So that is defining the structure. So when you execute a mapping which has a source as a flat file, how it works. It is mandatory that the file should be on the integration service machine. That is the ETL server where you have installed that integration service machine. On that, the file should be physically present. So in projects, they will put that file onto the integration service using FTP, file transfer protocol. They transfer the file from one server to another server. So whenever you define your source as a flat file, the file should be on your local machine to define the structure. But when you execute the mapping, that is when you execute the mapping which contains, when you execute the session, it is mandatory that the file should be on the integration service machine where you have installed that integration service software, that Informatica server software on which machine you have installed. The file should be there on that machine. And it should be on a particular directory. You have to specify the directory where the file should be on the integration service. So you have to keep the file with the data from which you are going to import the data from that file. File should be on the integration service and it has to be put on that directory in a particular path. So in the lab of this, in Hyderabad server, where we install the integration service machine, service is there, service or server, the machine on which we have installed it. In that server, under C:, INF server and _src files. Under this path, we have created the file structure file. So let me show it to you. Because my server and my client machine is the same, this is on my machine only. I don't connect to the Informatica server. I have it on my own machine. So this is C:, server. Under src files, we have kept that file, nelson.dat file, C:, server. So physically, the file should be on that integration service machine. So at runtime, you have to specify this path where under the session, like you gave the connection to the table, under the session for that mapping tab, there under source, you have to specify the path. The path should represent the integration service machine path. So automatically when you execute the mapping, which has source as a flat file, integration service will check for that path on its own machine where it has been installed. That's the way Informatica works. So integration service will check on the Hyderabad server, in our example, to get that file from there. So you have to specify the path of this on the integration, on the session properties like source connection. You have to specify the path connection for this. So let me create the session and show you there. Task create session mapping 3. Task create session mapping 3. Now where should I specify the path? Double click, mappings. This is the source. Like you gave the source connection here under the source file directory, you have to specify it. Under the source file directory, here you have to specify the path whichever path you specify here, at runtime, Informatica will look for this path on the integration service machine only, on the integration service machine. So at runtime, it will go and search where that server software is installed on that whatever path you specify, D colon or E colon, whatever path you specify, on that machine only it will check, not on your machine from where you have defined the structure. So it is on the machine of Informatica server, there it will take the path. And by default it is direct, and there is indirect also, which we will discuss as in when we come to the case study. We will discuss what is indirect. For today you understand it as direct. You have to give a path and the file name. The path represents the integration service machine path, not your machine. And when you define it, it is your machine. When it is about to extract data from that source, it has to take it from there, integration service machine. So this path represents the integration service machine, and you load the data into the target table. So you give the target connection. In Informatica, change bulk to normal. So whenever you run a mapping which has a source as a flat file, the file should be on the integration service machine. So integration service machine, on this machine itself, you have to create that file. You have to put the file in a particular path, directory, path or directory. In that it has to specify the path where that file with the data is stored. So at runtime, it will go to that integration service machine, picks the data from there, extracts the complete data from there, and then it will do row by row process as usual. This is how when your source is a flat file with the data. If your target is a flat file, structure only should be there on the integration service machine on that particular path. Structure should be there on that particular path. So you are going to load data into a file. The file should be on that path without data, because you are going to load the data into that file. So this is the importance of source as a flat file. Any questions on this, please? Answer to a question: no. Not from client machine you will transfer it. Client machine, you are in a development environment. One time you define the mapping. Let me make it a bit clear here. What happens in the projects for all of us? There are three environments: development, test, and production. You develop in the development environment. For defining the structure, the file will be on your client machine, defining only. But everyday data will come in a file, or everyday load, or weekly load, or monthly load. Files will come every day if it is weekly load or every load. So every day the file should be kept on the integration service machine. In development we don't do it. In test also we don't do it. But in production, every day the file should be kept on that machine, which comes from some source, some mainframe department or some OLTP system. They will send the file every day. For defining in a development environment, when you are creating the mapping, you will define it. But every day you may load the data, so the file should be on the integration service machine. Yes. For today, it is, all of you understand that for today the file is on the, for defining it should be on your machine. While loading the data, it should be on integration service. I'll explain you how they do it in project. When we come to Informatica case study, I will explain you how they communicate and how they do it, files every day and all that stuff. But today, understand that for importing, it should be on your machine. For executing, the file with data should be on the integration service. When we come to Informatica business case study, I will explain you why they do flat file as a source, in what scenario they do it. That will look more for a project scenario, it will be more useful. But still, for you, I will explain you, give a quick run of it. What happens in the projects is, you may have multiple sources. Let's say in a project you have multiple sources, source 1, where you are going to extract data from this source 1, let's say 65% of your data warehouse projects. Another source 2, you may extract about 30 to 33% of data, and you have another source which is a mainframe or a old OLTP system which is on Unix. 1% data maybe you want to extract. So what they do in projects is to connect to this OLTP system and get that 1% data, and that becomes too challenge for them. So what they do is they will create files every day and send to the DW team. They will create the files every day and send it to the DW team. When your source data is very less, they will send you the data in files. Or some source systems, business rule is nobody should access their database every day, but they will create in files and send it across to you. They have their own secrecy and all that stuff because of financial data and especially HR data, salaries data. That databases, they won't allow many people to access it. So they say, what data you want, we'll give you in files. So you go with that. In that scenario, your source will be a flat file. Are you with me, Venkat? No, it's automized. Whole process will be automized. Whole process will be automatic by writing Windows DOS commands or shell script commands and scheduled, and it will be very fast. Sometimes files will fail. If they fail only, we have a job. If everything works fine, nobody will have a job. Because we will get a job because there is some challenge. Somebody hires us because there is some challenge there. But this process will be automized, which I will explain in the project. So when your source is a flat file, you specify the connection. So please open your sheet, please write it down this. So source session name, source file type, source file directory, source file name, target connection name, workflow name. Please write it down and let me know. So for business case 4, I have 2 flat files as a source. One is product.txt file and orders.txt file. I need to load the data into target table called TGT product revenue. These 2 are flat files, tab delimited files. So what to load in the data? Target table. From one file I am getting item number, item name, product category. From another file I am getting item number, quantity and price. So I need to load data into TGT product revenue table. So item number, item name, product category, I can get it directly from the products. But to get the total revenue, it is quantity into price based on that particular item number. Based on that particular item number. These are the 2 sources, flat files. 2 sources as flat file to load data into a single target table. So in Informatica, first philosophy of us, whenever you define anything in Informatica, first we need to define the source structure, source or sources structure, then we need to define the target, first step. So let me define the sources. Import from file, C:class underscore examples. You make it all files now. You will see products.txt file. Import field names from the first line. This is tab delimited file. This is a tab delimited file. Next, Informatica will guess the data type based on the data. Finish. Then Source, import from file, class underscore examples, orders.txt, import field names from the first line, tab delimited file, next, finish. So these two are your source structures. These two are your source structures which you define it. Now, target, import from database, use the ODBC connection of target, then import the table structure. What is the target table? TGT, product revenue is my target table. So mapping, you have to create. Now let us discuss. So you have two sources as flat file 1 and 2. You need to load data into a target table. For example, if you have two tables like EMP table and department table, to get data from two tables, what you do? You join two tables based on some condition. If it is two tables. But if it is flat files, you can extract only the data from the files in Informatica using source qualifier. It has inbuilt capability to extract the data from flat files. But you have to join two files now. Based on item number, you have to join them. How to join them? To join, when you have a sources like two flat files, or one table, one flat file, or two tables from a different databases, when you want to join data, then you use a transformation called joiner transformation. Then you will use a transformation called joiner transformation. The purpose of this joiner transformation is to join when there is a heterogeneous sources, like two flat files. You have to join or one flat file, one table, or two tables from different databases, or same database, different servers, same type of like Oracle, but two different database servers. You want to join them. Then you use a transformation called the joiner transformation. It has three ports: input port, output port, and master port. Import we will discuss later. So, in Informatica, you join, if it is homogeneous joins, that joining in a two tables or more than two tables, you can join them in a single source qualifier. The join can be done on a source qualifier if it is relational tables. If it is not a relational table or combination is not relational tables, that cannot be joined on a SQL statement, then you join them in a source qualifier transformation. Or you have one Oracle table, one Sybase table, you want to join between two tables, then you use a joiner. Two tables on different servers, then you use joiner. Two flat files, we join them in a joiner. A file and a database table, you join them in a source qualifier transformation. The purpose of joiner transformation is to do when there is a disparity sources or heterogeneous sources. In that scenario, you use joiner. But the fundamental rule of a joiner is a single joiner can take two inputs only, order and product. If you have more than two, then you have to use, if you have three sources, then you have to use two joiner transformations. So in Informatica, if you have more than two sources, if you have three sources, you have to use two joiners. So number of sources minus 1 is the number of joiners transformations you will use in a mapping, because joiner can take two inputs only. And joiner is based on some condition. You will specify the condition and also join type. Joiner supports normal join, master outer join, detail outer join, and full outer join. Normal join is nothing but equi-join. Remaining other joins we will discuss in the next class. So as of today, it has a join condition you have to specify between any two tables or any files. If you want to join, it is based on some condition. So you specify the condition in the joiner transformation. So the purpose of joiner is to join data in your when it has disparity sources. So what is the disparity sources, or we call them as heterogeneous sources? So in our case of Informatica mapping, today's case study, you have two files coming from different databases, different files. You need to load into a single target table. So when your source is a flat file, two flat files, you use a joiner transformation. So one is product, the other is orders, and you need to load data into TGT, product revenue. This is heterogeneous. This is source is a flat file. Double click on it. In the properties, SQL is disabled because SQL statement you cannot write on a flat file. But you will use a source qualified transformation in Informatica. So two sources. So you will use a transformation called joiner transformation when they are flat files, or one table, one flat file. Syntax for joiner is JNR. Syntax for joiner is JNR. Please write it down. JNR on item number. We are joining on item number. Please look at the specification document. This item number and this item number, if they are equal, then only you will get the quantity and price and product category. So you join them in a joiner transformation. So what you need from product to source: item number, item name, product category from the product to source. You based on some join condition. So item number, quantity and price. Commonality that you take it from here, from the orders file. So you have two sources. One is orders, one is product. So to join them, you have to use a joiner transformation. So in the joiner transformation, it has input port, output port, and master port. Master port I will discuss in few minutes. Whenever you load data from two sources or two flat files or two tables, when you want to do it, you have to specify the condition. So for our better clarity, I'll rename this item number as orders. That is, my understanding will be it is coming from orders file. So this item number is equal to that item number. You specify like employee department. Employee.department ID is equal to department.department ID. Based on like that, based on two sources, if you want it, there should be a join condition. So you specify the condition here, like add new condition. The limitation of a joiner is it will use only equal to operator. In the joiner transformation, when you work on joiner transformation, the limitation of joiner transformation is it will do only equal to operator. Less than or greater than is not allowed in the joiner transformation. So you join them. This item number is equal to this item. You can have multiple conditions. It will use AND function within. Like item number is equal to item number, item name is equal to item name. Multiple condition. If you want to specify multiple columns, then you can specify it here by adding the conditions like this. But I need on only one column, so I specify the condition. As I said, joiner will support four types of joins. Go to the properties. Normal join, master outer join, detail outer join, full outer join. Normal join is default. Normal join is default join. So this is how you join them in a joiner transformation. And also we need to calculate quantity into price. So to calculate quantity into price, we will use expression transformation. Simple calculations, we will do expression transformation. So transformation, create expression to calculate total revenue. So you have item number, item name, product category from one source. You don't need item number, quantity and price from the other source. Like in a select statement, you join and you say which columns you require. These columns which you require, you will take it out from the joiner transformation. Then you specify property, total revenue. Output port only. Then you use quantity into price. So quantity into price. You calculate it. So item number, item name, product category, and total revenue. Then you save your work. So this is how you create your mapping. Joiner transformation is used to join the data from two disparity sources or heterogeneous sources, a table and a flat file, or two flat files, or two tables from different databases or database servers. When you use a joiner can take only two inputs. This is what is a joiner transformation. So if you execute this mapping, what happens? Before that, please write it down this, then I will tell you when. So I have created a session for this mapping. Then when you double click mapping, how many source qualifiers you have, that many it will show as your sources in a mapping. So you have two source qualifiers, so two sources, two paths you have to specify. For all the files, it is on INF server, SRC files. Another one is orders, C:, INF server, SRC files. So two sources, two flat files. Target, I will be loading into my target table. Change bulk to normal, say OK. Then workflow designer, fourth mapping, WFS underscore mapping name, save your work. So this is how you create the connection for this. So please write down this and let me know. Then I will tell you how internally Informatica. Let us look at it, what happened. Now let us assume that you have a source which has this data in the file products.txt, and you have a source called orders.txt. Excuse me. So you have two files. So you created the mapping. In the joiner transformation, you provided the join condition. And in the expression, you have written price into quantity. This is your target table. So a source qualifier joiner will take only two sources as an input stream. Now you executed this. It went to the source files connection, extracted the data from both the sources. Because of space constraint, I kept only 5 records here. It may have more data. Now what does Informatica do? From source qualifier, it will release the data row by row. So first record comes in. First record from products and first record from orders. It will get you the data. That will be the input to your joiner transformation. So it goes into the joiner. Based on the condition, it will check this item number is equal to this item number. Condition true. So data goes out of the joiner. Then expression transformation, it will do quantity into price. This output total revenue is mathematical calculation is wrong. Please bear with me. I calculated for price minus discount. There was some confusion. So this we will change it later. But today, bear with me this number. That's all. Other than that, everything will be fine. Price into quantity. That is the output of it. Because price is 63 into 2,295 is not 2232. That's what I want to make things very clear here. But it will do price into quantity and loads the data into it. Second record comes in from both the sources. 112221 is item number. based on the condition both item numbers are same, true. So it will go out and expression will calculate the data, and then the data will be loaded into your target table. Then third record comes in 2954, and the third record from your orders file comes in 2954 and 300. So what it will do, this item number and this item number are not equal, so it will drop the record. If the condition fails, joiner will drop the record. Next record comes in 900 and 2954. The fourth record I'm talking about, fourth record from this and fourth record from this. We will get the data. Again, 900 is not equal to 2954, so this record will also be dropped, will not be gone out of the joiner transformation. Then the fifth record comes in 11518 from one source and 11518 from another source. Condition true, so it goes out, calculates and loads the data into the target table. So why do row by row we are doing it? That's the way Informatica works. Informatica does row by row process after it extracts the data. So row by row, it is loading the data into the target table. So one row at a time it will come. So joiner will test the data, true, goes out. If the condition is fails, it will drop the record. So Informatica, as it does row by row, look at the data from both the tables. Actually, there is a 2954 in this orders file also. There is 900 from product and 900 from orders also. But it didn't load into this because the sequence was different. 2954 was the third record, 900 is the third record here. Actually, it failed. It didn't load the remaining two records. Actually, it should have loaded. Observe the data in the source 2954 and 900. Here also 900, so it should have loaded it. But the sequence, the way it has come, based on that, it didn't load the data. It is condition failed. Have you got the problem, please? That is, data is there in both the tables, but in different sequence. That's why it has not loaded it. Sita, Rupali, Biba. Why it didn't load? Because row by row Informatica processed the record. 2944 was the third record from one source and 900 from the other source. That's why it didn't load it. But that is, as per the data, it is incorrect. As per Informatica way of doing row by row, it will do like this only. So solution for this is, at runtime, Informatica allocates a memory space to one of the sources. One of the source data, when you execute, it will get both the data into the integration server, but one source of data, it will put it in the cache. That is called a joiner cache. So it will put it into the cache, one source of data. Which data you need to put it, that is determined by you only. Which source has its number of data that you save should be in the cache. So how Informatica works now? Really, in projects, in Informatica mapping, I just gave you an example. Actually, joiner will have a memory space, a cache allocated to it. This is called a cache size. So at runtime, a memory space is allocated to Informatica joiner transformation, and one source of data, after it extracts, one source of data will be in the cache. In your case, we are putting orders data into the cache. So Informatica will extract the data from both the sources, but one source of data, row by row, it will put it into a joiner cache, memory allocated at runtime. Then other source of data will come out of the source qualifier, one row at a time, scans the cache based on the condition. It will scan the whole cache based on the condition. This is how Informatica works internally in the joiner transformation. So it will scan the data in the cache 13545 exists, condition true, so corresponding data goes out of the joiner transformation. Quantity and price, it will take it from the cache into this. It will take the quantity and price from this joiner cache of orders file, then loads the data into the target table. 11.221 is coming in. It will scan the cache of joiner. At runtime, joiner cache will have one source of data in the cache. Second source of data will do row by row, scans the cache based on the join condition. If the condition is true, it will send the data out. Third record comes in, 294, scans the data. Condition true, 2944 exists, scans the memory, and output of it goes to the target table. The 900 comes in, scans the cache in the joiner transformation, gets the data out, and it will calculate and send it across. So 11518 scans the data, finds the record. This is how Informatica joiner transformation works. So at runtime, joiner needs one set of data set. The other set of data will do per record scan the cache. This data set, putting the data set in they'll put it in a memory, which we call it as a joiner cache. So at runtime, when you execute a mapping which has two sources and you have a joiner transformation, first two sources of data will be extracted. Then one source of data it will put inside the joiner cache, a memory, a RAM, a memory space is allocated at runtime by Informatica server itself. That is, integration server will allocate a memory space. So one source of data will be in the joiner cache. Then it will do row by row process. It will do row by row process. Whichever satisfies the condition, the record goes in. If it does not satisfy the condition, it will drop the record. So joiner cache needs a cache, a memory space at runtime. So Informatica will create one data cache for it, and also it will create an index cache. It will create an index cache based on the field port on which you are doing the condition. It will create the index on the ports on which you are doing the condition. So it will create an index on item number in our case, because that is your join condition. On that you are doing the item number. So it will put this data into the cache and index cache. So data cache and index cache size. At runtime, it will allocate a memory space. One source of data will be in the cache. Which source of data you want to put it in the cache? That you will determine. If one source of data is less than one source of data is less, which source of data is less, that you will make it as, that you want to put it in the cache. That is indicated by this M port, which we call it as a master port. That is indicated by this port called as master port. So which one you make master? You may make this source as a master or this source as a master. Any one you make it, it will select all the columns in that source. So which one you want to make master? Master will be made which source of data is having less number of records. In our case, you can put it any one because there are only few records in both the sources. In projects, you will decide which source has less number of records. So that is what you define as master source. Then properties. This is your cache directory in integration service. At runtime, it will put the data in this cache. Size of the cache will be determined automatically by itself, and there will be index cache on the condition you specified it. Then the join type you specified. You order null values in one source, which is master source. You want it a null values. If there is a null value as highest value or a lowest value, that you specify it. So at runtime, Informatica puts into the cache one source of data that is determined by the M4. That is our work. We decide which has less number of records. We'll make it as master port. So at runtime, when you go in Informatica, the other source will automatically, one is master, the other will become detailed. So at runtime, when you execute it, it will put the data, one source of data, the master source in your cache, into the joiner transformation cache. Then other source of data One record at a time, it will scan the cache. If it will satisfy the condition, the record goes out. Again, it will scan the cache. If the record satisfies the condition, then it will go out. If the record does not satisfy the condition, then it will drop the record. But it will scan the whole cache in joiner transformation. So this is how the joiner transformation works in Informatica. So any questions, please? We use one transformation called lookup, where you need memory space. Or aggregator transformation, we use memory space. And when you use the sorted transformation, it will use so joiner transformation specifies the condition in the condition tab. This item number is equal to this item number. Properties. Here you specify the join type under the properties. Is it a normal join or master outer? The remaining 3 joins I'll explain you tomorrow's class, that is Sunday evening's class. So you have a normal join. Sunday evening's class or Monday's evening class. So you join them. So at runtime, it will put the data in the joiner transformation. Clear, Yasim and others? Others, any questions, please? Sita, Beba, yeah, I'll show you, Yasim. Sita, Biba, and Krupali, are you clear? Are you getting it, please? In the expression transformation, you create a port and you make it as quantity into price. Yasim. So item number, item name, product category from one serves, quantity, price, you calculate it and put it into this. So let me load the data into my TGT product revenue. So I created the workflow, now I'll execute it. So row by row, Informatica does this process. Succeeded. So select the star from PGT product revenue. So it has calculated and loaded the data into your target table. So joiner contains memory. Joiner allocates memory. One source of data will be in the cache. Other source of data will do row by row process. For this reason only, joiner will contain only 2 sources at a time. Joiner cannot have more than 2 sources, because one source will be in the cache, one source of data will be scanning the cache. Now the next example, I want to extract data from 2 sources. This is src underscore emp table and src underscore dept table. 2 relational sources. And I want to load into a target table. But while loading the data into the target table, I want salary less than 1000. Salary greater than 1000 records only needed to be Why? What happened? No, I have an agenda every day. I have to complete some. I gave only 2. It's confusing when doing the lab. I hardly did 1 mapping only. I have done today only 1 mapping, madam. First mapping, only you have to specify the path. Second mapping only you have to do for today. This is very small example. I understand because you are doing it first time, it will be challenging. Accept it. It is a bit challenging when you are learning something new in the learning. But how only it will be there confusion for 2-3 days, because also I'll tell you why you will have you will be confused, because ODBC connection to the mapping, that file on a server, then it will be on a server. So that's the way. Yes, agreed. But have little bit of patience. You will get through this, because I have done this many training programs and all that stuff. Okay. Because we have agenda. So sources, SRC EMP table and SRC DEPT table. Target, you need to load data into target table, and source qualifier. Now, if it is a relational table, you need to, how you do it. In Informatica, how we do it, if it is a relational table, you join them. In a relational table, you can join them in a source qualifier transformation. If it is a table or a flat file, you cannot join them. You have to use joiner. But two tables coming from same database, if you want to join them, then you will join them in a source qualifier transformation. First, let us define the source. Import from database. Already we have defined one source called SRC_EMP table. Another source, we need to define it from the source database, that is SRC DEPT, SRC_EMP table, and SRC_DEPT table is your source, and your target. Import from database. You need to load data into a target table called TGT EMP DEPT. These are two sources, one table. You need to load. Here, as we discussed before, joiner is used when your source is one table or a flat file, or two flat files or two tables from different databases. But in this example, data is coming from two sources. Data will come from two sources. One is SRC_EMP table. The other is SRC_DEPT table. You need to load data into TGT EMP DEPT. So when you will get data from two tables, you join them in a joiner transformation. Sorry, you can join them in a joiner, or you can join the same thing. If it is relational tables, you can join them in a single source qualifier transformation. So homogeneous joins, this is called as same database relational tables, you want to join them, then you can use source qualifier transformation. So what is the join condition between these two tables as per the mapping requirement? This department number is equal to this department number. That is our general join, which we have done in Oracle. Many people have done it. So joining between two tables, same example. I need to load the data into it. So I'll create a mapping for this. Create m_5_. I'm joining in a source qualifier. So I put it as SQ join TGT_EMP_DEPT is my target table. SQ join TGT EMP and department. One source is my source for SRC_EMP. Other source I imported, which I call it as SRC department. So this is your source. It's a very simple mapping to load data into a target table called TGT_EMP department. So you have a relational source. You can join them in a single source qualifier. How to join them? Delete one source qualifier. Select, say delete. So department name and location will come from one source. I put it in this. Now how to join in a source qualifier transformation? How to join in a source qualifier transformation is properties. In source qualifier, you have user defined join. In the source qualifier transformation, you have user defined join. There you specify department number of this is equal to EMP table department number. In the properties of source qualifier transformation, you will specify this user defined join. SRC underscore department or department number is equal to SRC underscore EMP dot department number. You can use filter conditions. You can do sorting. You can do distinct in this source qualifier transformation properties. So this is your source filter. You can write it. You can do user defined join condition. You specify it here. So at runtime, it will extract the data from this source and put the data into my target table. So properties, you generate SQL. Default select statement is this. Whatever you write in the where clause, that will be specified in this join condition. User defined join, that will be specified in this. So at runtime, this query will fire on your select statement from, let's do it on your source database. When you fire this select statement onto the source database, it will extract this data by using this join condition. And also I want it, as per my business requirement, only salary greater than 1,000 to be loaded. Only salary greater than 1,000 to be loaded into the target table. So in the source qualifier itself, I'll use filter. I'll say salary is greater than 1,000 records only you extract at source. So in the filter condition, I say salary greater than 1,000. So at runtime, it will extract the data where salary greater than, based on this join condition, salary greater than 1,000, it will fire on the source database. So when it extracts, it will extract only employees whose salary is greater than 1,000. So in a source qualifier transformation, you can add the join condition. You can add the join condition. You can define the joins. You can use the filters. This is under the properties of Informatica when your source is a flat file. Source is a relational table coming from same database. You can join them in a single source qualifier. This is how you create the mapping. So task developer, create session. So I didn't save it, I think. So I joined them in a source qualifier transformation, mapping, single source qualifier, source connection, source SP14, target SP14, change bulk to normal, say OK. Then workflow manager, WF test underscore. Then you load the data into your target table. So at runtime, it will extract the data from that source and loads the data into your target table. While extracting only, it will filter the data and get you the data into the target table. So this is the data it has loaded in your target table of TGTEMP department, all the employees with salaries greater than 1,000 along with their department name and location. So please open your sheets. Regarding filter transformation, I'll explain you in next class how you can filter it rather than using that filter in your source qualifier. Please write down the source, SRCEMP already imported, SRC department, you please do it. So please do this. Please write this. With this, and please write down this fifth mapping. Please do the lab. Sujay will be available today, and tomorrow is no class, so Sujay will not be available tomorrow, and it's a Sunday for us. So he will be there for you. Please complete the lab today itself. Only 3 mappings you have. Please do the lab. Please send a message when you are done. We'll join them in a source qualifier itself. While extracting the data itself, we'll join them. That will be more performance because you are doing it on a database. Yeah. The query will fire on the database, so it will be faster. Yeah, one data will be on the cache, so it will be on the server. Done, everybody? So please do the lab. Tomorrow, next class, I'll explain you about filter transformations and router transformations. So Sujay will take it from here. Please do the lab.